Welcome back to the 4 Pillars of Healing. I'm Nichola, and this is another one of our solo episodes. In our last episode, we explored what it truly means to heal, how the body and the brain, and even our essence to respond when we move through pain or grief or trauma, and what that healing really asks of us. If you missed that conversation, I really encourage you to go back and take a listen. It lays the foundation to everything that we'll be exploring today, and it'll help this episode land more deeply. Because today I want to open the doorway a little bit wider. This podcast isn't just about single moments of healing. It's about exploring healing in all its forms. And in this episode, I want to share the framework for that. For me, that underpins it all. And it's what I call the 4 Pillars of Healing. This conversation is about a pathway home to yourself. Think of it as a map for the journey that we'll be walking together. As we follow this map, each episode will take us a little deeper into the landscape of healing. And along the way, it won't just be me who walks beside you. Imagine this journey like a winding path through an open countryside. And it's dotted with little houses along the way. Each house is a place to pause, to have a cuppa, and to sit down for an open, honest conversation with others who are also finding their way home. Every fortnight, we'll pause to share the stories, real, raw insights from people who are also walking the spiral of healing. Their voices become part of this map too, reminding us that while each of our paths is unique, we are never truly walking it alone. The 4 pillars are not just ideas or rigid concepts. They're a gentle but very intentional journey that's a pathway that guides you back to a deeper, more authentic connection with yourself. They're both practical and profound, offering ways to move through blockages and truly begin to heal. Each pillar was born directly from my own healing journey. They weren't created as a method or built as a system. They were remembered as a truth. They came through as a deep remembering of what has always been there, waiting very quietly beneath the surface. Because that's what healing really is. A return home to who you truly are. It's the gentle coming back to yourself beneath all the noise, the stress, the expectations, the ones maybe from family, from culture, from education. It's in all the ways that the world has told you who to be. And when I talk about home, I'm not referring to a house or a picture-perfect life. Home, in its truest sense, is an inner feeling. It's that deep exhale when you finally feel safe to be exactly who you are. It's the quiet place that lives beneath the striving, the self-doubt, the roles that you've had to play. It's the sense of belonging that doesn't depend on anybody else because it's you belonging to yourself. And we've all had moments where we felt far from that place, haven't we? Times when we're just so busy surviving, proving things to others, or taking care of others that we've lost touch with our own center. For me, coming home began when I realized I'd spent so much of my life searching for peace outside of myself. Whether that was in success, whether it was in relationships, even in healing itself, when all along the peace that I was searching for was waiting within me. Maybe you can relate to that too. That subtle ache of being homesick for yourself, because that's what this pathway is truly about. It's not about becoming someone new or something new or fixing what's broken. It's about remembering how to return to the part of you that's always been there, quietly waiting. So, a question. If coming home feels so natural, why do we ever leave in the first place? For most of us, it's not a choice. It happens slowly or it happens suddenly. And we start to bend ourselves to fit into expectations, to be accepted, to belong, and sometimes just to survive. Maybe we were taught that love had to be earned, that our emotions were just too much, that vulnerability wasn't safe. And we learned to stay quiet, to shrink, and to hold it all together, because that's what kept the peace. Every one of those moments is a step away from home, from your inner home. Not because we failed, but because in those moments, it didn't feel safe to stay connected to ourselves. And our bodies remember that. They remember the breath that we held in, the truth that was caught in our throats, the moments that whispered, "This isn't safe." And over the years, those layers of protection can make it hard to even recognize ourselves. We start to feel disconnected, like something's missing, like we're living on autopilot. We chase meaning in the outside world, hoping something will fill that quiet ache within. But that ache and that emptiness, it's an invitation. It's the soul's way of saying, "I'm still here. I never left you. You just stopped hearing me." So when we talk about healing as a pathway home, it's not about becoming someone new. It's about meeting the parts of yourself that went into hiding and letting them know that it's safe to come back. The journey through these 4 pillars, we begin to shine light on even the darkest shadows, but always in the most sensitive and supportive way. We don't ever relive the pain. We meet it completely differently. We honor what's been held in our body and gently invite it to move and to shift and to resolve without reactivating your survival story. Because this work, it isn't about going back into the wound. It's about reclaiming parts of yourself that got stuck there and weaving them back into your being so you can feel whole again. These pillars didn't come from a textbook. They were born from a lived experience, my lived experience, through my grief, my trauma, my abandonment, my fear, and masks that I built to survive. And over the years, I've tried and explored countless modalities, whether that be Reiki and breath work. I've tried acupuncture, kinesiology, tapping, body work, Bowen therapy, so much more. And each one has helped in its own way. But the deeper truth that I found was the only person that had permission to heal me is me. Practitioners, healers, guides, they can walk beside us and hold space and they can offer tools. But ultimately, the real everyday healing is ours to do. And through my deep inner work, the 4 pillars revealed themselves. And that's the beauty of them. They're not ideas. They're lived practices, and they hold you in the moment that you're in, and they give you a way forward, because each pillar meets you exactly where you are, whether you're just beginning your journey of healing, or you're circling back, or you're moving a bit deeper. Each one gives you a practice to return to, a way to ground, to integrate, and to walk yourself home. Together, they form a complete pathway, not rigid, not linear, but cyclical, alive, and ever-evolving. You might move through them in order or circle back to one that you've already touched, finding new meaning each time. But that is the spiral of healing. And each pillar is a different doorway, and together, they create the map that leads you home. So the first pillar, the journey begins in stillness. It's the quiet beneath the noise and the survival patterns. Here we have an invitation to pause, to soften, and to start feeling again. Because when we've built layers of protection around ourselves and we've pushed our emotions to the furthest edges of ourselves, we lose the ability to deeply feel. And this is where the body begins to repair. The breath becomes the anchor and the safety begins to return. Because if you feel safe in your body, then you'll be able to call those pieces back without re-traumatizing. When the body feels safe, the heart and the mind can finally open. From there, movement begins. And the moment where energy starts to flow, you begin to move with life rather than against it. And there's a dance between the light and the shadow. We all have it inside us. Between giving and receiving, and between surrender and strength. Every emotion, every wave of emotion becomes a teacher. And then slowly you begin to gather those parts of yourself that were left behind, the childlike parts, the tender ones, the stories that have never had a voice. It's not about reliving pain, it's about meeting it differently, becoming the safe space that those pieces never had. And remember, no matter what you are healing from in your past, you are meeting that trauma or that abandonment or that grief with a different worldview, because you are older, you are wiser now than you were when you went through the experience that you had. So you're meeting it completely differently. And as those parts of you return, something shifts. A sense of harmony begins to ripple through your whole being. Your inner and outer worlds will begin to align, and your thoughts, emotions, words, and actions start to move all in the same direction. Across every dimension of who you are, your physical body, your emotional world, your mental landscape, your energy, your spirit, they all begin to communicate again. And that's what wholeness feels like. It's a coherence. Not perfection, but presence. Being able to hold both joy and sorrow in the same breath, living anchored in something unshakable within you. Stillness allows safety. Safety allows movement. Movement reveals what's ready to be reclaimed. And reclamation restores harmony. It's a living process, unfolding, deepening, and evolving with every breath, with every lesson, and every return home. Coming home to yourself isn't always peaceful or predictable. Sometimes it's tender, and sometimes it's really confronting. And other times it's the quietest thing that you'll ever do. And it begins in the smallest moments. It begins in the pause before you react. The way you soften your breath when tension rises. The choice to listen to your body instead of ignoring it. These moments, that if you can catch them before they come in, they start to rebuild safety. And safety and feeling safe and not living in a unconscious state of fear, that's what makes true healing possible. You'll know you're finding your way home when the world outside you no longer dictates the peace within you. When you stop trying to fix who you are and start allowing you to unfold. The journey home isn't about escaping our human experiences. It's about learning to live within them with compassion and presence for yourself. And this path doesn't ask you to be perfect. It just asks you to be honest with yourself, to meet yourself where you are now, and to trust that your body knows how to heal. Your heart knows how to open, and your soul has been guiding you home all along. Because home isn't a destination, it's an ongoing return to presence, to truth, and to the part of you that's never been lost. It's just been waiting to be remembered. Sometimes the path home feels unclear, and we revisit the same patterns and wonder, haven't I already healed this? But those moments aren't failures, they're invitations. And it's about perspective. It's life's way of saying, there's still something here that we need to meet with love. Healing doesn't move in a straight line, it spirals. And each familiar change offers a new layer of integration. Maybe it's a boundary you can finally hold. Maybe it's choosing rest instead of rushing. Maybe it's letting yourself cry instead of numbing. And those inner voices, the ones that whisper, "You should be further along by now," are not the truth. They're just echoes of old conditioning. You don't need to silence them. Just recognize them for what they are. It's protection, not prophecy. You can thank them and gently remind yourself, I am already healing and I am already enough. When you meet these moments with compassion instead of criticism, everything changes. Again, it's about perspective. The spiral starts to feel like evolution, not repetition, because now you're responding with an awareness. And that's the magic of the journey. It's realizing that every detour, it's still part of your path home, and you are still healing. You're bringing to light the parts that once reacted from fear. Even when it feels like you've lost your way, you haven't. You're just simply being guided deeper into yourself. So wherever you are on this journey, you are not behind, you are right on time. Every step, even the messy ones, it's all part of the spiral of healing. In our next episode, I'll be sharing more of my own personal story. How abandonment, trauma, and grief and loss has shaped this pathway, and how those experiences eventually wove themselves into the 4 pillars of healing. My hope is that through my story, you'll see reflections of your own, and you'll feel supported to keep moving gently forward. Thank you so much for listening and walking with me. If this episode spoke to you, please subscribe so you don't miss what's to come. And share it with someone who might need these words today, because healing ripples outwards when we share it. Above all, remember this: you are already whole, and your healing is unfolding. Until next time, with love.